Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a very fun, very exciting, and very unexpected episode for you guys today. Pun very much intended, because we're playing Biohazard the episodes. And if that doesn't sound familiar whatsoever, I would not hold it against you in any way, shape, or form. This is a Japanese exclusive cell phone game that was lost to time for the longest time. Now, in the last 24 hours, as of the recording of this video, a cell phone was found and completely dumped and made playable in the Keitai or Keitai Launcher. I've heard both pronunciations, so I might just call it the Yippee Launcher from now on, but it is not very often whatsoever that you get to find out the news that a lost Resident Evil game that was basically not playable by anyone is now preserved for all time and something that you can sit down and play today. And it is just down to a dedicated team of preservationists out there that basically buy up these cell phones in bulk, looking around to see if they can find games that haven't been dumped on them so that everyone else can enjoy them. And when it is in such a storied franchise as something like Resident Evil, it's all the better. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Now if you can't tell already, this basically is going to be involving the world of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, but it's going to have a completely different story going on. But do be aware that that is going to be in kanji, this is not translated, so if you want to understand the story, you're going to have to use your cell phone and do some real-time translation, which is pretty meta using a cell phone to translate a lost cell phone game, but it does work. I tried it out and it makes enough conversational sense for you to understand the story beats here and why everything is happening. But it works well enough, and trust me, to play a lost Resident Evil game, it is worth it. Now, I'm going to be entirely honest with you, though. This has the tank controls that some people absolutely hate, and if you've never used them before, you are going to have to basically pivot your brain to understand exactly how to move your character with those tank controls. It only takes about a few minutes, but trust me, it can be a little bit confusing off the top. But seeing Raccoon City here and different angles of it is just so much fun, and honestly, this is the type of game that could have easily been lost to time entirely, because these games are only available on Japanese feature phones in like the late 2000s to early 2010s. They never came west, and obviously we all know the Japanese developers are really bad at preserving their own works. So if it wasn't for people out there trying to find phones with these games installed, then they would basically never be playable again. I do believe that there was a demo or trial version available of this for a while, but this is the first time the entirety of the episodes is available to play, and that absolutely from a preservation standpoint is so important. If you know me and you know the channel, there is something I always love to advocate for, and it is that preservation, keeping these games alive so that everyone can enjoy them and they can also be researched from a historical standpoint. But obviously from the gaming perspective side of things, we get a brand new Resident Evil game that I'm sure 100% of people that are watching this channel have never played before, and even if there are some people from Japan watching today, I would probably guess maybe 9 out of 10 of them have never played this before either, because you would have had to have the right cell phone, you would have had to have decided that you wanted to play some Resident Evil on your phone and then download it from there. And honestly, just think about all of the different cell phone games across iOS, Android, these Japanese feature phones that just aren't available to play anymore. Honestly, the entirety of cell phone gaming is just a bloodbath of things that are going to be lost to time. But obviously games like Resident Evil, that is the type of stuff that people are going to go out there and hunt for, and we can definitely appreciate them for that. And just seeing Raccoon City in a completely different way on a cell phone works. And I will say these pre-rendered backgrounds here look absolutely stunning, even via emulation. And it's one of those things, this probably looks better than it did back in the day on a cell phone, because the screens weren't exactly great. And I love the fast moving zombies as well. They remind me of another fast moving zombie in another Resident Evil game that we never got that I'll talk about in just a moment. Now, if you do decide to play this game, I left a link to the Keitai launcher down below, but you'll have to figure out how to configure it yourself because I haven't made a tutorial yet. And if you're playing and you're wondering why there isn't any soundtrack, these are very small downloads, so they reserve music just for specific spots in the actual downloadable, which is my segue to the first soundtrack sample, 45 seconds, but come back and I'll talk more about this last Resident Evil game that you can sit down and play today. I mean, the soundtrack definitely isn't going to win any awards for best Resident Evil music out there, but it is effective when it is used. And here is our friend Nemesis, who's going to be chasing us around half of this game, but you definitely don't need to have as many shots into him to put him down. And sometimes you'll get a little confused as what it is you're actually trying to do, because you enter this screen here, a new area of the game, but basically you actually want to backtrack for where you came from. And that's just one of those things. You're going to have to use a little bit of trial and error experimentation to actually get through Biohazard the episodes. I was at episode 4 when I stopped playing it. Honestly, it just takes a little bit of time, but you will understand what's going on. But try not to get grappled by Nemesis or any of the zombies. It comes very difficult to actually shake free. Running away from things in this game definitely is one of the smarter things to do, because when you actually start getting hammered on, you can get in a situation which absolutely just messes you up. You'll see here, I hit Nemesis as a counter, and there is a window to do that, but what you need to do in this section, and it is going to confuse a few people, is you just need to basically put him down onto the ground twice. Once you do that, you can move on to the next episode, because like I said, some of these things are absolutely bite-sized. If you do it correctly, it's only going to take you like 30 seconds or so to actually finish up a level, because you'll see here the timer is at 30, the Nemesis has been put down twice, and I can go through the RPD front door here, or at least actually look at it and get some story and move on from there. And as far as how tanky and difficult these zombies are, and this Raccoon City Police Department being a little bit different, it kind of reminds me slightly of Resident Evil 1.5, the Resident Evil game that we never actually got because it was completely remade into the Resident Evil 2 we all know and love and remember today. And that's kind of the same vibe of something like Biohazard the episode. It seems so familiar but completely foreign at the same time, and as far as how fast some of the zombies can be in here, it does kind of feel like it's closer to Resident Evil 1.5 than actual Resident Evil 2. But again, the story completely in kanji, and if you can somehow read Japanese, you're going to be a lot better set up. And in between episodes, you're going to see that you actually get the ability here to go ahead and swap out items, get healing items, and bring different things into each episode. It's not like there's going to be an item box that's magic where you can put something in one location and take it out at another location, but it does aid you in your overall quest. And you'll see there again, sometimes this game does like to backtrack because you don't actually go into the RPD yet. We're going to have to find another way around. And trust me when I say running away from zombies and just ignoring some of the lower level enemies here is going to be to your own benefit. And you do have to manually reload your weapon as well when it runs out of bullets. Doesn't seem to actually do that in game, at least for me. So definitely something to keep in mind. But that kind of goes for basically every Resident Evil game out there. Try to save your ammo for some of the higher level zombies and enemies you're going to face, and running away definitely is a strategy. Now, of course, with tank controls, that's easier said than done, but you will understandably get there. But I just love the fact that something like this actually happened. There's so many different games out there that were on these phones that have been lost to time, but could be recovered, and getting something like a Resident Evil game definitely is the S tier as far as its preservation is concerned. And you're going to see here now, all of a sudden, we have these boxes in the environment that we can break open with our knife. Technically you could shoot them as well, but you definitely want to conserve your ammunition, so you do want to switch out your weapon between the knife and the gun depending on where you are in the game. But you definitely want to be careful of some of these boxes because they don't always have energy items or ammo inside of them. Sometimes they have zombies, making that not a literal zombie closet but a zombie box. And I can't think of any other Resident Evil game that actually put a zombie inside of a box. So if you can think of that, let me know down below. But you will definitely see here these zombies move a lot faster, which can be a little bit more difficult. You are definitely at a disadvantage in something like Biohazard the episode, so you want to make sure that you're careful with your health, careful with your ammunition, and avoid things that you don't really need to involve yourself in, because this zombie right here absolutely just blazingly fast compared to Resident Evil 2. And again, it's one of those things, really reminds me of Resident Evil 1.5, where the zombies were just tankier, they would stun lock you, there were more of them, and they were definitely faster. If you've never played Resident Evil 1.5 before, I'll have a video on that soon as well, because it did receive some updates this year that are kind of fun. But honestly, Biohazard the episodes is not going to be the best Resident Evil game you've ever played, but it's going to be a brand new Resident Evil game that I'm sure you've never played, and one that has now been saved for all time, considering its obscurity and the fact that it easily could have just got into the Lost Forever category. And that is definitely something to celebrate for any sort of game, but when it is in the Biohazard or Resident Evil franchise and it is in October, that is all the more fun. So again, if you want to play this one, there is a link in the description down below to the launcher, and then from there, until I do the tutorial, you'll have to figure it out yourself. If you do want to see a tutorial on that, leave me a comment down below because I would be curious. I like to know what you guys want to see before I make it. But we're done. I'm going to keep playing Biohazard the episodes, and I hope you guys have a good time. Bye-bye.